Hello there, and welcome to another episode of, well, let's just call it America Still Weirder Than Fiction. Because this week, we're diving into a story so bizarre, so quintessentially 2025, that you'd swear we were making it up. But we're not. Our tale involves the U.S. Institute of Peace, a name that sounds like it belongs on a meditation app, not in a courtroom. USIP, as the cool kids call it, is supposed to be this non-profit group dedicated to, you guessed it, peace. They get funding from Congress, do research, train folks, all that jazz. Sounds harmless enough, right? Well, someone forgot to tell Donald Trump and his pals over at the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, because just a few days ago, USIP found itself on the receiving end of a hostile takeover, complete with armed guards, confused employees, and enough legal paperwork to choke a donkey. Buckle up, folks, because this one's a doozy. Picture this. It's a bright and sunny Tuesday morning in Washington, D.C. Birds are singing, tourists are snapping photos, and employees of the U.S. Institute of Peace are settling into their workday, blissfully unaware that their peaceful little world is about to be turned upside down. Enter stage left, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by none other than everyone's favorite techno king, Elon Musk. Now you might be wondering what a department focused on efficiency is doing getting involved in international diplomacy, but let's not get bogged down in logic here, people. This is Trump-era America, remember? Logic left the building years ago, so DOGE officials, flanked by a security detail that would make a Bond villain blush, waltz right into the USIP headquarters. They politely, allegedly, inform everyone that the building is now under new management and oh, by the way, the old president is out of a job. Just your average run-of-the-mill Tuesday morning, right? Now you might be wondering what on earth possessed Elon Musk and the DOGE crew to storm the peaceful, sorry we had to, halls of USIP like a bunch of Black Friday shoppers hopped up on discount eggnog. Well, as with most things related to the Trump administration, the answer involves a healthy dose of executive overreach, a dash of disdain for independent agencies, and a whole lot of because I can. You see, a few days before the great USIP takeover, our favorite ex-president turned Twitter warrior decided to flex his executive muscles. He fired most of the USIP board, leaving only a handful of loyalists, including everyone's favorite Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Then, for good measure, he slapped an executive order on the whole shebang, declaring USIP a government entity, and therefore, subject to his whims. Of course, USIP, being the independent organization that it claims to be, wasn't exactly thrilled with this turn of events. They argued that the executive branch has about as much authority over them as a goldfish has over a submarine. But hey, who needs legal precedent when you've got an executive order and a team of armed guards, right? As you can imagine, the whole USIP takeover kerfuffle didn't exactly go unnoticed. Lawyers were called, lawsuits were filed, and the media had a field day. And finally, after a few days of legal wrangling, a judge stepped in to try and make sense of this whole mess. Now, you'd think that a judge's ruling would bring some clarity to the situation, right? Well, you'd be wrong, because in a move that surprised absolutely no one, the judge managed to rule on the case without actually resolving anything. She allowed DOGE to keep their grubby little mitts on USIP for the time being, but she also acknowledged that the whole takeover was a bit, shall we say, heavy-handed. So for now, USIP remains under the watchful eye of DOGE, its fate hanging in the balance like a contestant on The Apprentice who just told Trump his business plan involved investing in a casino. Section 5, USIP, We Sue for Peace. Now you might be thinking, John, why should I care about this whole USIP thing? It's just a bunch of bureaucrats arguing over paperwork, right? And to that I say, fair point, but here's the thing, this isn't just about USIP. It's about a much bigger issue, one that should concern anyone who values things like democracy, the rule of law, and oh yeah, peace. You see, USIP is arguing that it's an independent organization, not a government puppet. They say that Trump's attempt to control them is a blatant power grab, a violation of their rights, and frankly, a real buzzkill for anyone who believes in the separation of powers. And they've got a point. If the Trump administration can just waltz in and take over an independent organization like USIP, what's stopping them from doing the same to other groups they don't like? Journalists? Environmental groups? The PTA? The possibilities are as terrifying as they are endless. Section 6. Draining the swamp one agency at a time. Now, let's be fair here. Trump's attempt to bring USIP under his thumb isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a much larger pattern of behavior, one that's become as predictable as his Twitter rants about fake news and witch hunts. Ever since he slithered his way into the Oval Office, Trump has been waging a one-man war on the federal government, slashing budgets, firing anyone who dares to disagree with him, and generally treating the entire executive branch like his own personal fiefdom. Remember when he tried to gut the EPA? Or when he appointed an education secretary who seems hell-bent on dismantling public education? Yeah, this whole USIP thing is just the latest battle in Trump's ongoing campaign to drain the swamp, even if it means replacing the swamp with a toxic wasteland of his own making. Section 7. Reactions from outrage to sure, why not? As you can imagine, the whole USIP saga has sparked quite the reaction from folks across the political spectrum. Democrats naturally are outraged. They're calling the takeover an affront to democracy, a dangerous precedent, and, our personal favorite, a move that would make even Nixon blush. And they're not wrong. Meanwhile, Republicans, as is their wont, are doing their best to avoid saying anything even remotely critical of their dear leader. Some are trying to defend the takeover, arguing that Trump is just trying to streamline government or root out waste. Others are simply staying silent, hoping that the whole thing will just magically go away if they ignore it long enough. And then of course there's the White House, which has responded to the controversy with its usual blend of arrogance and incoherence. Their official statement on the matter was something along the lines of, "The president has the authority to do whatever he wants, so shut up and get back to work." Ah, democracy in action. Section 8. The future of peace, up in the air. So, what's next for USIP? Your guess is as good as ours, folks. The judge's ruling has only muddied the waters further, and it's anyone's guess how this whole thing will shake out in court. Will USIP manage to regain its independence, or will it become just another casualty in Trump's war on, well, everything? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. This whole saga has shone a spotlight on the fragility of American democracy, and the very real threat posed by a president who seems determined to dismantle the very institutions he swore to protect. And that's something we should all be worried about, regardless of our political affiliation. Section 9, and now, a word from our sponsor Conflict Resolution Kits. Feeling stressed out by all this talk of lawsuits, government takeovers, and the impending collapse of American democracy? Well, do we have the product for you? Introducing the brand new Last Week Tonight Conflict Resolution Kit. Our kit includes everything you need to navigate the treacherous waters of modern-day America, including a miniature gavel and sound block, perfect for recreating your own dramatic courtroom scenes, a copy of the Constitution because apparently no one in Washington has read it lately, a stress ball shaped like Donald Trump's head, squeeze away your frustrations, and a bottle of high-quality whiskey for when it all gets to be a bit too much. So don't wait. Order your Last Week Tonight Conflict Resolution Kit today. Because in these uncertain times, the only thing more American than suing your government is drowning your sorrows in a stiff drink.